While you guys are typing, I'm going to record this. Okay. Okay, so it was a great re-entry point for a couple of reasons. We had it break low of Asian just about 70 pips. Come down one stop loss zone, make a small double bottom in New York, and started making its way to the upside throughout the day. Okay, pretty good trade there. We've got even better ones coming, right? So we entered Euro USD last night. I'm going to go back into why we entered each one and break it down and go through a little bit more in depth, but just reviewing them right now. We got into Euro USD up here. Okay, we had a great entry. We got a great entry right in the zone. Came down, hit our first take profit right here, pulled back up, and is now making its way slowly back down also. So it was a great setup, great entry. Okay. I think we got about 25 or 30 pips, 22 pips from entry already and locked in those profits. Now, GU is also a great setup. It was a little bit of a higher risk trade, but we got a really good entry on it. So we got a nice entry right in here after our confirmation candles. Okay, came down, hit 2 take profits, so we locked in 50 pips on this one. The first one was 27, and the second one was 50. Came back up. Right now it's just playing at where we entered for that third entry, and swing traders are definitely holding that all the way down. GBPAUD, it was a great setup. Okay, we got in right in here. It dropped and hit take profit 1 of 60 pips, just missed take profit 2 and 3, and came back up and hit our break even for the other 2 entries. So we did lock in those nice 55 pips, almost 60 pips, but just missed our next zone there. So not bad, but great trade. We went over Euro USD, and those were the main ones that we entered last night. So a lot of them hit our take profits. A lot of them were still in, especially the swing traders. So pretty good setups. All right. Does anyone have any questions so far? If you do, drop it in the question box. That's what it's there for. Do you guys want me to clarify or go and over anything specific? Euro USD about to triple top or head and shoulders on the daily. Let's go on this one. Yeah, it looks like we've got a triple top. We've got a major support zone that we definitely have to be careful in, and that's why we lock profits always on the way down. Nice read on that. You had a nice doji up here as well. It wasn't a doji, actually. Okay. So, not bad of a trade. So, let's kind of go in and take a look at why we entered the trades and so on. Now, this gets a little bit more, we're not going to go too advanced, too in-depth. If you don't understand anything I'm saying, just ask a question, ask me to clarify. But I'm kind of going to break down the different ways to look for entries, the different ways that our traders do, right? So you guys know Ray, the code, Daniel, myself, Spencer, Mike, Cece, all of them, Peter, all of them coming in and using different styles, meaning scalping, swing trading, intraday trading, and locking in profits. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways that we found our entries last night. All right, so let's start with USD JPY first. Okay, so the first thing that I like to look for here on any chart, any trade, and I'll get rid of the lines for you guys. I know it looks pretty crazy on your end. The first thing that I like to look for on a chart that I like to put out is a high and a low of the current trend and a 50% zone of that move. So we have our high We have our lower and our 50%. From there, I like to look for 3 major moves and point them out. So the 3 major moves was right here. This was the first one. Zoomed out, you can see them really clearly. Got the first one in here. You've got the second one in here, and the third drop right here. So I look for those 3 major moves. And once I see those 3 major moves happening, look for a large double bottom or W formation. So you can see we drew it out last night, and that's why we said it was a riskier trade, because that has not formed yet. Right? So essentially, let's use the pen here 1 second. Here we go. So here's the high, here's the low, here's our 50%. We've got our 1, our 2, our 3 major moves. From here, we'd like to look for a multi-session double bottom. What does that mean? That means that we're looking for the double bottom to happen within a few days. So it usually takes 2, 3, 4, sometimes longer days. And it's a bunch of candlesticks that form that double bottom formation, just like here. Nice formation. There's actually a bigger one right here. Okay, so you always want to wait for that before you enter a trade, unless you're scalping or unless you know it's a higher risk trade and taking, a 1% risk on it rather than 2. So very important to remember, okay? So, number 1, we look for structure/trend. Actually, sorry, I missed high and low. Sorry, I'm used to, and the 50%. Okay, once we're able to indicate that, we now see, okay, this is the trend, this is the move that's happening. From there, we look at the structure/trend /3 pushes. Okay, so high, low, 50%, structure, trend, 3 pushes. Those are our first 2 steps. Once we've clearly indicated that, now we do entries. Okay, and if we have time, which we should, we'll do entries at the end. I don't want to rush them though, so it might be moving into next week for entries. But let's see how fast you guys grasp this, all right? So high, low, 50%, structure, trend, 3 pushes. Once we've indicated that, we now look for a double bottom or double top formation. In this case, it's double bottom or W. Now, if you guys, again, don't understand what I'm saying, it's a little bit more intermediate. So definitely jump into the training. That's what it's there for. And on the other sessions, it explains and we'll break down all of this. So the third thing is our double bottom or double top formation. So we always, especially beginners, want to wait for that double bottom formation to form and then look to catch what? The second leg formation. So once it comes up, comes back down, we're now going to look to catch the second leg formation to the upside. What does that mean? We're looking for a buy into our 50% zone minimum. Swing traders, okay? Scalpers might be quicker. Intraday traders may be quicker. Now understand that your double bottom is not going to be perfect on that support zone. It may be a little bit higher. It may be lower than the support zone and then come up. Okay, that's called divergence. We're not going to move into that. We're not going to talk about that today. All right. So that's your very, very first 3 steps. From there, you move into entry technique, which varies on the style you're trading. We can go over a few of them at the end or next session. Entry technique, and then very last comes entry confirmation. Now, these are all broad here that I'm going into. I could talk about each of these for a whole hour. So those are our 5 steps. High, low, 50%, structure, trend, 3 pushes, double bottom, double top, entry technique, entry confirmation. We enter the trade. Entry confirmations, excuse me. There's always multiple that we look for. Okay, very, very important there. So that is one way to look at it. That is one way to find structure, to find trend, to find pushes, and so on. Okay? Those of you a little bit more intermediate advanced, if you guys have been doing work with Ray or Spencer or who else does harmonics? Ray or Spencer, they're the two main ones that do harmonics. Harmonics are those triangles you guys see. It's the same exact concept. So what is involved in a harmonic? It's two triangles and a double top and double bottom. Okay, so where else can we plug in a harmonic? That would be right here, slash harmonic. Okay, so structure, trend, three pushes, slash harmonic. It's a different way to look at things, so let's paint it out. We have a trend to the upside here. So what do? We draw out our triangle. We have a double top formation here, also known as an M. That's the core right there, okay? And then, sorry, I'm still drawing. We paint out the second portion of our formation. Sorry, hold on. Okay. Let's try this again. So where you want to draw it? You want to draw it from the low to the high and the neckline of the double top, essentially. Or the M, whatever you want to call it, same terminology. Okay, second part is your high, your neckline, and your low. And that's a harmonic pattern, okay? Now, going in depth, there's patterns that have all crazy names, bats, butterflies. Some people measure the exact degrees of them. Doesn't matter. The way that, again, Cece and Ray break it down for you guys, some of our top traders for harmonics, is finding that pattern of a trend to the upside, that double top formation, a trend to the downside, and essentially your D would be here where we do what? We look for a buy. But what's best to wait here? It's best to wait for that double bottom formation, just like here there was a double top, right? We want to wait for it on the opposite end, and then we're going to catch that buy to the upside. Very simple, okay? So that's another way to look at it. And the third and last way, which we also spoke about a little bit yesterday, is called channels. It's something that Kevin uses. Those of you that do trainings with Kevin, is a channel, okay? It draws out a channel of a trend where then it goes in and bounces on and off through that channel. And when it breaks that channel, it comes in and retests it and moves to the upside. But here's the double top, double bottom. Watch this again. So we got that move to the downside. It's going to come through, break it, come back down and test that zone, and then make that move. All right, so once again, that's a different way to look at an analysis. Is called a channel. All right, so where am I getting at with this? It's important to master your high-low 50%. That's very easy to find within a trend move. Now, if you can understand structure, and the structure is three pushes. So within a trend, if you can find three pushes, that's your very, very core foundation. And if that makes sense to you, if you can find that on charts, it's not going to be on every chart all the time. And that's why we narrow them down like on the charts last night, right? We went in, We looked at about 12 or 15 charts. We narrowed it down to about 8, and then we executed on 3, actually 4, right? So we always narrowed it down to the very, very best setups so that we can maximize our profits and lower our risk, okay? So our core foundation, high, low, 50%, second structure, trend, 3 pushes. From there, what harmonics and channels are is just a different perspective on how to find these things. So some people just clicks drawing a harmonic. They're visually able to pick it out and it just makes sense. Some people use a channel. It visually helps them pick out trades. Some people just like the 3 pushes. Whatever makes sense to you is what you want to start using and practicing. If it's too confusing, it doesn't make sense, don't use it. There's other ways. So you can see that all of our traders use the same core foundation, no matter what trading style they have or strategy, have the same foundation, but have found different ways for it to work based on their mental confirmation, what makes more sense to them. And that's very, very, very important to understand. Okay, I can give you an example with myself, right? We've created a lot of full-time traders, okay, myself and my teachings. In the past 13 months, about 36 full-time traders myself. I'm talking about my mentorship personally, okay? And here's what it is. Out of all those traders that trade, that do sessions that you guys, in race Telegram groups and so on, we all have the same core foundation. We all understand this core. We mastered it. But they've all been able to come up with a different strategy and a different style to fit them. So what I may do may not fit you exact, but it's going to fit you very close. You're going to get that foundation, and then you're going to build from there. Right? So one of you or half of you might say harmonics make sense to me. The other half like channels, or a quarter like channels, quarter like pushes, just because it makes sense for you. And there's no wrong or right way, okay? So from there, you want to do the high-low 50%, find a structure, master structure. From there, you choose what works best for you, 3 pushes, harmonics, or channels. From there, double bottom, double top. You always want to wait for that confirmation, otherwise you'll be getting in trades early. Like last night on USD/JPY. We got in a bit early. We were looking to catch the first move. It stopped us out. Re-entered this morning and caught that move. But the bigger move that we'll be waiting for is that larger double bottom, looking to catch the second leg of the W. And the same thing on top. From there, we do entry technique and entry confirmations. Now that gets a little bit deeper into it as well, based on the style you're trading. We'll definitely go over, what I like to use and some of our traders use for entries. Okay, let's find the core concepts on a few of all the trades we got in last night. So this was USD/JPY. Once you see that double bottom formation form, that larger double bottom formation with confirmation, then we're going to be getting a great entry and a great move, and that'll start happening most likely next week. Okay. The second one, Euro USD. Gorgeous, gorgeous setup. Okay. Let's actually look at it on here. We did this earlier in one of the trainings as well. So, we have a structure to the downside. We have the 3 pushes. Let's do it this way. We have a beautiful harmonic. Okay? We have a channel, so everything is there. We have a completed harmonic, and now wherever the harmonic ends is usually a D, and you look for the opposite way. So in this case, we have a harmonic that's ended, and we're looking to go the opposite way, which is down. Okay? We have a channel in here where you can see we drew. This was a bad channel drawing. We have a channel in here that it constantly bounced back and forth off of. That's a different way to look at it. And we have our 3 pushes. We've got 1, we've got 2, and we've got 3. And what did we get last night? We got a small double bottom formation right in here. Now this is a small one, and we're catching it on the way down now, and we're up in profit. About 20 pips right now. Okay. So taking a look at it, what's going to happen? Okay, it's going to create a larger double bottom, or in this case double top formation. So down here one more time, you can see a large W that formed. We're now going to start to see a M formation form and then move down. We're going to catch that second leg of the M formation. So 3 different ways to look at one thing. 3 different ways to look at one thing. Very, very simple. Okay? Let's look at another chart we saw last night. Gbpusd. Another beautiful setup. Let's get rid of these for you guys so it doesn't bother your eyes. Is this. It's again another harmonic. Alright, so watch this. Here's the trend to the downside. Here's the neckline of the W. One more time. Boom. Okay, what do we have? We have that large W we keep talking about. And the move to the upside. So we actually caught GU all the way up down here. We entered this last week on one of the training sessions. And we caught 300 pips. I think we closed it out last night before we started trading. It was $300 on a 10-cent lot size. We entered it last week. Beautiful move to the upside. So in this case, what are we waiting for? We're waiting for a double top formation, and we're looking to catch it down and catch that second leg formation down again. Now, why did we get in last night? Let's take a look. We had a very small double top formation. So within large ones, there's always little smaller ones. Right? You can see we had one right here. There was actually a small one here, and then a larger one now forming to start coming down. Right, we got a beautiful entry, came down, came back up, and we start to move. Okay. And once again, there's a beautiful channel. So if you prefer to use a channel to help you visually pick it out, watch this. I know it looks a little bit crazy. Let me change the color. Let's do like purple. That's pretty dark. Do it green. Alright, so you see that channel moving there right to the upside, and within that channel it's bouncing back and forth, back and forth. Very simply. Okay? It's a harmonic, and the other coolest part, which is my favorite, is we talked about the 3 major pushes. Where are they? Right here. 1, 2, and 3. 3 major pushes. What does that mean? It completes that trend. Can you look over AU as well? Yep, we'll take a look at AU. When you draw your channels, does it have to hit all highs and lows while it bounces? It doesn't have to hit all, but you don't want it going like through your candlesticks, your bodies, right? Like you can see. So don't. Oh, 1 second. I'm drawing now. There we go. Sorry. So you can see here, like it just went through the body, but it never confirmed outside of there. It went through the body here as well. It doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah, most of the time you're going to have them bounce off the channel. Okay? And if you know it's 3 pushes, you know you're on the second one, and it's bouncing off the channel, you're going to know there's that third one coming up, and boom, little double bottom, buy, perfect entry, 120 pip move. Right? So, those of you that look confused, it's a lot of information, a lot of stuff on the charts, it's fine, but you must practice this and get your mind a master to pick these things out. And what's the best way to do that? Back testing. Back testing is going back in the markets in live time in a faster speed. So you can practice. You can go back 24 hours, a week, a month, a year, years, and practice the markets. Watch it move in live time at a faster speed and get your eye to start picking out M's and W's and harmonics or channels or structure or entry techniques. Whatever it is, you take each one and you go in and practice until your mind starts seeing it visually. Then you take the next one and go practice. Those are your, really looking to master trading yourself. You've got to get your mind trained to see it, and that just takes repetition and practice. Take a half an hour a day to do it, an hour. Okay? So is everyone seeing the patterns, how they're the same over and over and over, no matter on what chart you're on? And they're everywhere. We just narrow it down to the best charts that we can visually pick out the best. Boom, I can pick out 3 pushes. Boom, I can pick out a harmonic. Boom, it has that double bottom or double top. Is it starting to make sense? Are you guys starting to see it? Yes or no? I got a capital yes. I hope that's a screaming yes. Is that you, Bryce, from the Utah Trade House? All right, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Can you talk about candle shapes and entries or looking for entries? We'll dig into it a little bit, Christopher. Let me go over AU, and then we'll do a little bit of entry work. Again, everything I just went over is very broad. I can go into each one of these topics for hours. So please make sure if you don't understand something, ask questions. If one interests you more than the other, you go in and you watch that training, you find that training, and you master that specifically. Because again, each category I just went over was broad. All right. So let's do AU, and then we'll do a little bit of entry work. All right. So AU. AU is another beautiful setup. So watch this. Okay, so we've got a harmonic in here. Okay. High, low, and that's a neckline right there. Got another one in here. Okay. Pretty beautiful harmonic. Now, let's get rid of some of these lines and boxes. All that simply is making, all that harmonic is making is this. That big W, right? And then that move up. Within that move up, we have 3 major pushes. 1, 2, 3, like we talk about. We have our low, our high, and our 50%. I don't know if you guys hear that. It's my dog snoring. Okay. Sorry, I was reading the messages. So, now zooming in, what happened up here? We had a double top formation, and a move to the downside. Now, the 50% zone was a little bit lower. It's right in here. So what were we looking for last night? We were looking for a small pullback and one more move into this 50% zone. Did that pullback happen? No, so we never entered. So we stayed out of the trap. It was a little trap last night. It was a lot of consolidation. Okay, so AU overall, and out of that harmonic and zones, it's almost always going to come into your 50% zone. Depending if structure and trend is finished, it's going to burst through it, option 1, or option 2, pull back, make a larger double top, and then come down. Alright, so there's always 2 options in that point. It's a little bit more advanced understanding which one and how to stay away from certain traps. But what I'm teaching you guys is if you always use confirmation, you won't get trapped. Just like last night, we didn't end up getting in because our setup didn't happen. Okay. Yesterday you didn't like Gbpusd sell signal. You were right. What did you see? Let's take a look. So, Gbpusd does not have any of the patterns we've just been going over. Okay, which is our foundation and our core. So, with that being said, with my strategy and most of our traders' strategies, I'm talking about like Ray and Spencer and Nikki and everyone, that's the signal guys. That's different group. That pattern was not there, so I did not enter it. That's number 1, right? You can see that it's consolidation right in here. So this zone has been going back and forth for months, back and forth, without any real movement, any core movement. So that was 1. 2, that pattern wasn't there. And 3, the 3 pushes aren't there. We said that that's our foundation. The high and the low and the third, the high, the low, the 50%, and the 3 pushes. So far, the high and the low does not have 3 pushes in it. It only has 2. 1, 2. So me putting a sell in, us putting a sell in, that's counter trend trading, going against the trend, which is lower probability, but scalpers do that. Scalpers go against the trend because why they get in and out a couple pips. Okay, so looking at it, since last night, it's been in consolidation. It's flat. It's flat across the board. It's barely moving. So those of you in are probably right at break even or a little bit in profit. Actually, I think it was a sell stop, so I'm not sure where that is. Never mind. So anyways, what I was looking for to happen last night was to catch the 3rd push because there's only 2. So what would I've wanted to happen was, like we drew out, have a pullback down, then look for a buy and catch the 3rd push making a higher high, right? Got this, we've got this, and now we need 1 more coming up here. So if anything, I would have bought this chart if it pulled back like we wanted to. If it didn't pull back, you leave the chart alone, and that's exactly what we did. Okay, once it's finished, and it finishes its 3rd push, then what are we going to look for? We're going to look for the double top formation and that move down. But until that pattern happens, we're not going to touch the chart because why? Out of all the charts, there's always 1, 2, or 3 that you can find the very, very best possible. So you never want to overtrade. You don't want to trade too much because you're putting more risk into the markets. You want to take the highest probability setups and maximize your profits and lower your risk. So if you, just like last night, we looked at 10 charts, we narrowed it down to about 6 or 8, and then we took 4 trades. Why? Because they were the very, very, very best ones that had our patterns, had all our confirmations, and some of them that fully didn't, but we said, okay, it's a higher risk, we're going to take it anyways. We lowered our risk. Okay, it was very important to do that and to follow that, and always categorize your charts like I do. I do 3 categories: highest probability, and category we're waiting on, and ones that'll happen maybe next week or in a couple weeks. Spill on your trades. Do you need the harmonic channel, etc., to line up, or are you cool with just your push formation method? I just use the push formation method, Marlon. I don't use all of them. I was just showing you guys the different ways of looking at the same concept. So it's the exact same concept, just different perspectives. So think of a quote, right? You might have a quote, and you take 3 different people, and they all perceive that quote in a different way into their lives. It's the same thing with trading. I use the 3 push structure. Ray uses harmonics. Spencer uses harmonics. Kevin uses channels, right? So all of our traders use different things, but it's doing the exact same thing, just in a different way. So I don't use all 3. You can use whichever one works best for you. I just joined the chat, so I might have missed it, but on UJ it broke the support, so isn't that supposed to turn into a resistance? One second. I get what you're saying, Chad. So what was once support turns into resistance, and what was once resistance turns into support. Yes, but that's confirmation. That's not the overall picture. So the very first thing you want to look at is the overall picture, and the overall picture is that it's a downtrend. That we're waiting for it to turn around into an uptrend. Right? That's what you look at first, not looking at support and resistance first. Support and resistance will be other confirmations to get in after you establish your structure and your pushes and your trend and your double bottom, double top, and your entry technique. Now you use that after your double bottom, double top, right in that area to your entry technique to use, okay, support and resistance. How can I use this as confirmation? How can I use this to buy or sell and so on? Does that make sense? Sorry guys, it's Paul keeps messaging me. How many pairs do you look at? And how do you decide? So I usually look at the major pairs. The major ones, I don't really look at exotic ones. Usually other traders bring it up, or my traders. They'll be like, look at GBPAUD, and I look at it, right? It's not a major pair like Euro USD and UJ and so on. It's corporate, sorry. Sorry, I only look at major pairs, and then the exotic pairs will pop up here and there and have great setups. So I'd say the major pairs probably 10 to 12. From there, I narrow them down every week. Because think of it like this, the markets are a cycle. Okay, so these 5 charts that we're looking at are great this week and possibly next week. And then there's the other 5 that we looked at that aren't so great, are wishy-washy. Now, once those 5 great setups finish, they're going to start to get into consolidation and wishy-washy. And the ones that were wishy-washy, I don't know why I'm saying that. I've never said that word in my life. Sorry. I couldn't think of another word. The ones that weren't the best are now going to turn into good trades, and it's always going to cycle back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you always want to narrow down which one. And how do you decide? You decide based on patterns that you see, based on understanding what the market is doing, retail traders versus brokers versus banks, and so on. A lot of stuff that you guys learn in the training and learn on the sessions, but it takes time to put all the pieces together. So overall deciding is using the patterns. First thing you look at is high and low and structure. If that's not there, you leave the chart alone. Just like we just looked at GBPAUD, there was no structure or patterns for months. So if there's none of that's there, you don't want to trade the chart, so you eliminate it. Then I go into the next one and I look for that pattern. If that pattern shows up, then I start to look at it. If the pattern's not complete, I put it in category 2. This pattern is almost complete. I'm going to keep an eye on it. right? So you look for the patterns, and number 1 and number 2 in the numbers right here. If you have number 1 and number 2 and you find that pattern, that chart's good. If it's a completed pattern, category 1. If it's not completed, category 2. If it has no pattern, just eliminate. So you always want to narrow it down. How do you know the approximate time in which a move will happen? Sometimes you say X will probably happen towards the end of the week. That's from just experience on the markets, Marianne. Is the biggest thing on the markets, which is the very last thing that's advanced, is understanding behavior. Each pair has its own behavior. So when you, not each pair, but overall the markets have a behavior. And when you understand that behavior, you can now say, this chart's going to consolidate, it's going to take 2 to 3 days, it's going to be the end of the week, it's going to be next week. That's having time on the charts. But we can never predict the exact time. We can predict the direction and what's happening, and that's the biggest thing, right? Like the signals. Sometimes they come in and they're super fast, sometimes they take time, because why? We know where it's going to turn around, we know what it's going to do, which direction it's going to go, but we never know the time. We could say, they could be sending out a signal and saying when it hits this point, buy, and as they're sending it out, the chart starts hitting that point. And sometimes it'll take a couple hours. So there's really no exact time, but once you have time on the markets and start to understand behavior, you're able to start predicting it a little bit better. Does that make sense? On the UJ, I see it trying to form the W. Excuse me, if it hits the middle of the W, a confirmation candle before taking it down to the bottom. Yeah, so most likely, maybe this is what you were talking about, Marlon, was right here. This is a major support zone, support resistance zone. Okay, so that double top may come hit the zone, may come down, right? Use it as a resistance, come down, create that larger double bottom, and then move. Yes, that's exactly what we were predicting. I came on late. Which 5 charts were you looking at? We were reviewing the setups and the trades we got in last night, Patrick, and going over patterns. So this is recorded. You'll be able to go, oh, sheesh, my dog farted. Sorry, guys. We're damn going to pass out on here. Just going to be quiet. We were looking at AU, UJ, EU, and GU and GA. The first couple of charts up here on the left. Those are a lot of the ones we entered last night. They went great. Some of them are still in. And we were going over patterns and mastering patterns. You guys are laughing. My dogs are always snoring and farting. So you guys will always hear that on the sessions. Does anyone have any questions? Anything you want me to clarify or kind of go over again? If you do, type it out. In the meantime, I'm going to go over a couple updates. The old training had fib and flags. Do you use them? Yes, I use flags. I'll use flags as a form of confirmation. That's one of my entry confirmations that I love using. For either flag breaks or support resistance in the flags. I love those. Those are awesome. Fibonacci, personally, I don't use. Okay, it's not my thing. I don't like all the numbers and stuff. It's never worked for me. I never really dug into it. But for example, Ray uses harmonics and Fibonacci as confirmation. Spencer uses harmonics and Fibonacci as confirmation. Cece uses 3 pushes and Fibonacci as confirmation. Right? So again, it's a form of confirmation, and if Fibonacci makes sense to you, then use it. But it's the very last thing. You don't. Again, the biggest thing to trading is you always want to follow the steps. You always want to find structure and trend. You don't want to just say, I see a double bottom, so I'm going to trade it. Or I see a Fibonacci pattern on 38.5 or whatever it's called, and I'm going to trade it. That's confirmation. Always follow the steps. Have it written down and you say, okay, if I see a high-low 50%, check. Okay. Number 2, Do I see a structure, trend, 3 pushes, harmonics, channels, whatever? Check. If you don't see that, you eliminate the chart. If you see it, check. Next, do I see a double bottom or double top? No, not yet. So let me put that in category 2 because the pattern's not complete, but it's going to happen in the next couple days. Sorry, guys, it's corporate. They're releasing a training soon and keep texting me. So you check it off. Now you have high, low, 50%, structure, trend, 3 pushes, whatever, which one of those, double bottom or double top. Next comes entry technique. If you have the entry technique, which there's 3 specific ones we use, which we'll go over tomorrow, if you have that, you check it off. And last, confirmation. If all of those get checked off, that's the trades you enter. But never say, I don't see a trend, but I see a double bottom in Fibonacci, so I'm going to enter. That's called justifying, and that's one of the biggest reasons why traders don't succeed in the markets. Do not justify. Literally use a checklist. If I see 1, I can move to 2. If I see 2, I can move to 3. If you don't see them, you eliminate the chart. If the pattern's not complete, you move it into category 2. If it's complete, category 1. Let me wait for my entry. Jeez, these dogs. Sorry, it smells really bad. So make sure you're using that. It's very, very important. Now, yes, that's correct, Chad. All right, so a couple updates for you guys. There's a brand new training releasing tonight, very soon, from FXE. It's a whole new training course, a lot of awesome new information. So definitely dig into it, go into it, and come with questions tomorrow. Do you guys have any requests on tomorrow's session? If you do, type it out. Second thing, back office transition. It's very, very important to transition by today. If you guys do not transition by today, your services are going to turn off. Okay? We have a new company that you need to go in. You don't have to pay. It's your regular auto ship date. You just need to put in your information and transition. Otherwise, your services will shut off. So please do that. Look in all the Facebook pages and chats and talk to your sponsor. All the information is there on how to do it. But make sure you guys do it by tonight so your services don't shut off. Tomorrow, draw flags. Okay, we're going to jump into entries, and we'll do a little bit of flag work as well. Tomorrow, we'll keep it, again, more intermediate. All right, so I will add that to the lesson plan tomorrow. I was going to do entry techniques anyways, so entries and flags tomorrow, same place, same time. Perfect. Besides that, if you guys have any other questions or requests, leave it in here. Is there a new training in the FXE? I haven't seen it. It'll be released on the Facebook page, so keep an eye on it when it's out there, and then you guys can go and start taking a look at it. All right, so I'll talk to you guys soon. You have a good night. Appreciate your time. And again, same place, same time tomorrow. Thanks, Tanya Rock. We couldn't do this without you. Perfect, guys. As much as I can help, that's what I'm here for. So have a good night. Study up and back test. Bye, guys.